Road stretched ahead of George Strait, a ribbon of asphalt illuminated by the bus's headlights as it rolled through the desolate Texas night. Inside, the hum of the engine echoed like a distant lullaby. Despite the enthusiastic cheers of fans waiting for him in concert halls, a heavy loneliness gripped his heart. George leaned against the cool window, gazing at the blurry landscape, lost in the quiet between shows. As the days blurred into a routine of applause and bright lights, the emptiness grew. The luxurious tour bus, designed for comfort, felt more like a gilded cage than a sanctuary. Each night's performance left him with a fleeting thrill, but rarely a lasting connection. He missed the warmth of genuine companionship, the kind of moments shared over a simple meal or laughter that lingered in the air, a stark contrast to the solitary silence that greeted him after the crowds dispersed. He recalled his mother's laughter, her teachings about love and kindness ringing true in his mind. She had always emphasized that connection mattered more than fame. But now, surrounded by wealth and recognition, that lesson felt like a distant memory. "Hey, Tommy," he called to his tour manager, who sat busily scrolling through his phone. "Do you think fame really means anything if we're all alone?" Tommy shrugged, barely looking up. "It's about the music, man. You're doing great. It doesn't get any better than this." George turned away, feeling a swell of frustration rise. He wanted more than accolades. He yearned for genuine connection. Suddenly, the bus jolted violently. "What the—" George exclaimed, feeling the bus swerve. "Tommy, did you feel that? Probably hit a pothole or something," Tommy replied, his tone lacking urgency. "No, pull over," George insisted, adrenaline coursing through him. As the bus slowed to a stop, the harsh lights fell upon a small figure lying motionless by the roadside. Jumping out, George rushed toward it, heart pounding. A dog, a fragile creature, injured and alone, lay there, her body tense and trembling. "Hey, girl," he whispered gently, kneeling down. He reached out cautiously, trying to soothe her. "I'm here to help you." Gingerly, he lifted the dog into his arms, feeling her weight and her fragility press against his chest. She was so small, and yet, in this moment, she felt like the most important being in the world. Back on the bus, he cradled her close, discovering warmth in their sudden connection. As he watched her breathe, he felt a profound shift within himself. Beneath the bright facade of fame, this small creature reminded him of what it truly meant to care, to heal. "Let's get you to a vet." His voice trembled with a promise as the bus roared back to life. The familiar strains of the tour faded away, replaced by the heartbeat of hope that pulsed through their unexpected bond. Driving into the night, the vast Texas sky twinkled overhead, and for the first time in years, George felt the shadows of loneliness begin to lift. Luna, this wounded soul, had given him a glimpse into the beauty of connection, an encore that transcended fame and darkness, a reminder that sometimes love was waiting in the simplest of moments. "If you're ready, we can now proceed to Block 2, the past and the roots." As the bus glided along the dark Texas highways, the familiar sound of the engine filled the silent space. George sat with Luna curled on his lap, her warmth a stark contrast to the chill of the night. Lost in thought, he let memories wash over him. Flickers from his childhood danced like shadows in his mind, pulling him back to simpler times. Flashback. In his memories, George was a little boy, no older than 7, bright-eyed and sitting cross-legged on the living room floor of his family home. His mother strummed a worn guitar, her fingers dancing effortlessly across the strings. The room filled with the soft, sweet sound of their singing, a combination of laughter and melody that bound them together. "Music is like magic, George," she'd say, her eyes sparkling. "It can bring people together, remind us of love." He remembered laughter ringing out as they sang their favorite songs, the flickering candlelight casting playful shadows that enveloped them in warmth. A feeling of safety and belonging seeped into his heart, anchoring him in those cherished moments. "Let's do it again," he'd plead, excitement all but tangible. She'd laugh, coaxing him to sing louder, the joy shared between them untouched by the world outside their humble abode. End flashback. Tears pricked his eyes as the memories faded. The echo of his mother's voice was a bittersweet reminder of the lessons that had shaped him. She had been a beacon of compassion, the values she instilled now distant under the weight of fame and expectations. George shifted, glancing down at Luna, her gentle breaths a reminder of the healing power of connection. The night's stillness pressed in, yet here, cradled in his arms, was a living soul, resilient and fragile. It was as if Luna embodied every lesson from his mother, reigniting a long-forgotten passion for caring and nurturing. The bus bumped along the pothole-riddled road, jolting him from his thoughts. "We're almost there, girl," he murmured, feeling the weight of renewed hope. After what felt like an eternity, they arrived at the local veterinary clinic, a small but welcoming building glowing softly under the night sky. As he entered, the typical scent of disinfectant and nervous pet owners filled the air. He approached the front desk, cradling Luna, who looked back at him with wide, trusting eyes. "Hi there. How can I help you?" the receptionist asked, her smile warm. "She was hurt. I found her on the road," George explained, his voice heavy with anxiety. "Let me take a look," she replied, her professional demeanor causing some of his tension to ease. "Please fill out this form while we get things set up." As he completed the paperwork, George felt the energy of the clinic around him. Pet owners chatted softly, sharing stories of their beloved companions. He realized he had replaced true connection with applause and acclaim for far too long. He'd chased a dream yet neglected the heart of it, people and moments that mattered. Before long, a young veterinarian approached, her scrubs neatly pressed. "Hi, I'm Dr. Celia Morales. Let's see what we can do for this brave girl." George felt his chest tighten with worry as he nodded, unable to find the words. Her calming presence, however, offered relief, as if she could sense his unease. "She's a fighter," Celia said gently, examining Luna. "You did the right thing bringing her here." "I just couldn't leave her," George replied, watching as she worked, her hands delicate and steady. While waiting for the results, he and Celia exchanged stories. "Do you often rescue animals?" he ventured, seeking the connection he craved. "Whenever I can," she replied, her face lighting up. "I love what I do, but my dream is to open a sanctuary for injured animals someday." Admiration swelled in George's heart. Here was someone who cared deeply, just like his mother had. "That's incredible," he said, inspiration stirring within him. "Making a difference, one life at a time." "It's everything," she agreed, her eyes shining. "Every note you play can touch someone's heart, just like every life we save matters." As they shared their dreams and aspirations, George felt a flicker of something more than friendship, an understanding that resonated deeply. This was the connection he had been seeking, a shared passion for bringing healing and joy to others. When Luna was finally taken for her treatment, George's heart raced with worry, but also with newfound hope. Leaning against the cool wall of the clinic, he realized that perhaps he had been searching for fulfillment in the wrong places. The applause of audiences couldn't compare to the simple act of healing, of being there for someone or something in need. For the first time in a long while, he envisioned a future woven with meaning and purpose, beyond the bright lights and loud cheers. He could honor his mother's legacy by embracing the very essence of love and compassion that she had instilled in him, a journey that began with Luna but had the potential to grow into something profound and heartwarming. As the minutes passed, he clutched Luna's collar, an anchor in the storm of emotions swirling within him. He realized he was ready to reconnect with his roots, with the values that had slipped through his fingers like so many notes in a forgotten song. This was just the beginning, a new chapter unfolding not just for him, but potentially for many others waiting to be touched by kindness. If you're ready, we can move on to Block 3, The Fall and the Loneliness. As the weeks passed, George and Luna forged a bond that filled the aching void in his life. The little dog was always by his side, her presence a source of warmth and comfort, especially during those quiet evenings on the porch when the fading sun cast a golden glow across the Texas landscape. Yet with each new concert he performed, George felt the familiar pang of loneliness creep back in. The applause rang like distant thunder, exhilarating yet hollow, a stark contrast to the genuine connection he experienced at home with Luna. The thrill of the stage seemed to lose its shine, becoming more about the spectacle than the heart of the music. One night, after an electrifying show, George stood backstage, staring into the empty auditorium. The echoes of cheers faded into silence, leaving him with a palpable emptiness. He strummed the guitar in his hands aimlessly, the vibrations of the strings contrasting sharply with the loneliness enveloping him. As he played, melancholy notes filled the room, and he found himself longing for something beyond the fame. "What does it matter?" he thought, "if I'm not connecting with anyone?" Worry crept in as he recalled how Luna had looked up at him with trust when he first found her. It felt like a lifetime ago. He remembered what Dr. Celia had said about kindness and how every note played could touch someone's heart. Deciding he needed a change, George picked up his phone and called Celia. She answered quickly, her voice warm and welcoming. "How are you doing, George?" I don't know," he admitted, his voice caught between vulnerability and frustration. "Being out here feels like a performance I'm not part of anymore. It's enjoyable, but it's lost its spark." "Maybe what you need is to rediscover the roots of your music," she suggested thoughtfully. "You've found a lot of inspiration in your life lately. Let it breathe into your songs." "I'd love to share what I'm working on with you," he replied, excitement returning to his tone. "Let's do it. How about I come over tomorrow?" The next day, George prepared, his heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and nerves. He had spent long hours writing, channeling the emotions that had piled up inside him. As Celia arrived, he felt the air shift with possibility. "Let's hear what you've got," she urged, settling into a cozy chair in his living room. Taking a deep breath, George strummed the first chords, letting the melody seep into the room. He sang about connection, healing, and finding solace in the love of a small dog and the kindness of a friend. The lyrics felt raw, authentic, pouring forth with each note. When he finished, the air was still for a moment. Celia's eyes sparkled with admiration. "That was amazing, George. You captured something truly beautiful." Their collaborative spirit flourished in the hours that followed as they worked together, weaving their creative energies into songs filled with depth and honesty. Luna watched from her spot on the floor, a silent witness to their connection, a reminder of the strength they'd both found in each other. Yet even as they created, the remnants of loneliness still lingered in George's mind, urging him to protect himself against potential rejection. Would people understand the depth of these songs? Would they resonate with the raw, vulnerable truths he was beginning to uncover within himself? After their sessions, George felt invigorated, but also aware of the shadows still whispering doubts. The applause of the crowds felt distant, but the joy in the music was closer now than it had been in years. He chose to embrace the path of vulnerability. With each new song, he put pieces of his heart on the line, aware of the risk but hoping for a deeper impact beyond mere accolades. As the tour continued, he poured himself into the recordings, the soundscape now infused with reflections of his journey, the love he found in caring for Luna, and the warmth of friendship with Celia. The songs transformed into stories of redemption, and he realized that through them, he could inspire others to seek their own connections with compassion and authenticity. Yet every time he stepped back onto that stage, the familiar shadows of loneliness whispered in his ear, attempting to pull him back into their grip. He knew that the battle with isolation wasn't over, but the music, with all its power, was becoming a beacon of light, guiding him back to himself. With resolve, George remained committed to his journey. Each string he plucked was a promise to honor not just the music, but the memories and lessons of his past. A promise to embrace every part of who he was, with courage. He clung to that goal. The music world was vast, but amid the glitz and the glamour he had found something real: love, connection, and hope. As he closed his eyes after each performance, no longer was he just a performer. He was a man rediscovering his purpose, one note at a time. He had stepped through the curtain of loneliness and stepped into a life colored by compassion, ready to share his heart with the world. The tour rolled on, and George's heart beat with a fresh rhythm, echoing the new life that had taken root within him. Each venue felt like a new beginning, a canvas where the vibrant colors of his experiences danced to the melodies crafted from love, pain, and resilience. As he stood backstage before the lights brightened, he felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement rippling through him, an electric current buzzing with possibility. In the weeks that followed, there was a palpable shift in George's music. Gone were the refrains of isolation and melancholy. In their place, songs infused with warmth and connection blossomed. Many nights, he found himself watching the crowd, eyes scanning for familiar faces in the sea of fans. Yet no one drew his gaze like Luna, who had become his constant companion on the road. She chewed on the fabric of his heart, weaving it together with threads of shared moments, courage, and loyalty. The first night of the new set arrived. George stepped out under the blinding lights, and for a brief instant he froze. The roaring crowd faded as he remembered his promise to connect, to give they not just an performance, but an experience so rich that it invited them into his world. "All right, Texas," he called out. and the cheers roared back like waves crashing against the shore. "Tonight, I want to share something special with you." He walked to the front of the stage, leaning down as if inviting each person closer, drawing them into a realm of heartfelt storytelling. He started his newest song, its chords resonating with the shared pain and joy they all felt, an anthem of vulnerability and strength. Each note painted a picture of healing that spoke beyond the applause. "Sometimes we forget to connect," he sang, looking deeply into the audience, locking eyes with strangers who now felt like friends. "But we can choose to open our hearts." As he played, the weight of his past peeled away layer by layer. The journey his music had taken, through joy and heartbreak, loss and ultimately love, had transformed into something transcendent. The crowd's response was electric, their faces alight with understanding. When the last note ended, he felt the warmth of their applause wrapping around him, embracing him like friends, welcoming him home. Backstage afterwards, he found Dr. Celia waiting, her expression beaming with pride. "That was incredible. I could see your heart on that stage." "Thank you," he replied, breathless. "I've never felt so connected before. It's like I finally get it." The days turned into nights, filled with laughter, music, and exploration of their shared passion. As they spent time together between shows, their bond deepened, transitioning into something richer than friendship. Celia's laughter became the melody that transported him back to when he was a boy, surrounded by love and music. One afternoon they sat on the bus, sharing stories under the soft glow of the setting sun. Luna lay curled up in George's lap, the embodiment of their connection. "I never thought I'd find someone who understands me like you do," he confessed, looking at her. "It's like I can finally be open about everything, the ups and downs. I spent so long hiding behind the music." "We all have our battles," Celia replied softly. "Finding courage to embrace vulnerability is no easy feat, but every time you step on that stage, you invite others to be brave with you." As the tour continued, George not only embraced his journey, but also discovered the stories of those in the audience. People approached him in meet and greets, sharing tales of their own struggles and triumphs, finding solace in the songs drawn from his experiences. It was a beautiful exchange, a dialogue of humanity, and in each heartfelt interaction his own healing deepened. One balmy evening, as the stars blinked into view outside the bus, Celia nudged George gently. "Look at the sky. It's beautiful, just like the connections you fostered through your music. Everything is interconnected. The songs, the love, the struggles. It feels like I've finally awakened," he mused. "This is real life, not just the highs and lows of fame. It's about people, moments, and the simple beauty of compassion." In that moment under the vast Texan sky, George realized he had fully stepped into his new life. No longer was he a lonely figure searching for approval in the crowd. He was a musician, a storyteller, and most importantly, a man who had found community. Yet meaning did not come without shadows. There were still whispers of self-doubt that clawed at the edges of his resolve, but now, armed with courage, he turned to face them. George penned a final song for the tour, encapsulating everything he had learned. It was raw, vulnerable, and beautifully messy, just like life. As the final concert approached, George felt an electric mix of anticipation and nerves. He kept thinking of the connection between him, Celia, and Luna, the miracle of love wrapped in unlikely circumstance. Standing on stage that night, he summoned every ounce of faith he had. With his guitar in hand, he took a deep breath and began to strum the chords. The sound enveloped him, sending waves of hope and healing throughout the audience. The final song felt like a farewell, but also a promise, one that connected everyone in the room with an experience bigger than the performance itself. When the final notes faded and the crowd erupted into applause, George grinned, feeling a flood of joy wash over him. This was not just about music. It was a celebration of growth, connection, and the beauty of new beginnings. As he glanced towards Celia, he caught her beaming smile, knowing that this was his reinvention, the rebirth of a man who once stood in shadows, now proudly embracing the light. "Thank you, Texas," he called out, feeling an unbreakable bond with the faces around him. He was home, and after so many years of feeling lost, he had found his way back, one note, one heartbeat at a time. With newfound determination, George stepped into the future, ready to embrace whatever life held next, for he understood now that love, music, and compassion would always light his way. The tour had come to a close, but for George, this was merely the beginning of his new chapter. Returning home to Texas, he felt a renewed spirit coursing through him, each day filled with a clarity that had once eluded him. With Luna as his loyal companion, he strolled the familiar paths of fields and open skies, appreciating the beauty of small moments. His heart brimmed with gratitude as he reflected on the last concert, the connections he forged with the audience, the shared stories, and the realization that he was no longer just a performer, but part of a community, unlocked a deeper sense of purpose within him. Celia came to visit frequently, often bringing fresh produce from her family's farm. One sunny afternoon, as they prepared a meal together, George looked into the expansive landscape. It's amazing how every encounter shapes our life. Sometimes I think about all the stories that go untold, he mused, feeling a sense of destiny around them. Celia nodded, her eyes sparkling with understanding. Every person we meet carries their own struggles and victories. It makes me feel like we're all part of some grand tapestry. The preparation for an intimate concert at a local venue became their next shared project, a night dedicated to celebrating the community and the power of music to heal. As Celia helped organize, George felt invigorated, channeling the energy of his rebirth into the event. The day arrived, and excitement buzzed in the air like the chirping of crickets at dusk. The venue sparkled with warmth as friends and familiar faces from the community filled the seats. George felt a wave of affection wash over him as he stepped onto the stage, Luna lying contentedly at his feet. "Tonight," he began, "I'm not just sharing music. I want us to connect over our journeys. Each of us carries a story worth telling." With every song, he poured out his heart, melodies intertwining with shared experiences, transforming the audience from mere spectators into a collective family. They laughed, cried, and celebrated together, strengthening the bond between them. As the final notes faded and the applause echoed, George felt overwhelmed with gratitude. He stepped off stage, a warmth spreading through his chest as Celia approached, her eyes bright with pride. "You connected with them like never before. It was amazing." "Thanks to you," he replied, feeling a profound appreciation for her support. "I would have never aimed for such connection without your encouragement." That night under the stars, as the world quieted around them, the air between George and Celia hung with potential. They exchanged glances, and Celia broke the silence. "If we're going to navigate this together, we need to be brave enough to face what's unfolding between us." George nodded, his heart racing. "You're right, I've been cautious, distracted by everything around me. But you feel like home." They moved closer, and in that moment, something unexplainable passed between them. Their lips met, igniting a spark that spoke of acceptance and possibility, weaving their hearts together in ways uncharted. As weeks turned into months, George and Celia ventured into communities, sharing the healing power of music. Each visit was an exploration of lives intertwined, connections deepening with each shared story. One day, while working with students at a local high school, he met Mia, a shy girl with a passion for music. "Can you teach me to write songs?" she asked, her voice trembling with hope. "Of course, everyone has a story worth singing about," George replied, instantly feeling a connection with her. Mentoring Mia sparked a new joy in him. He wasn't just inspiring others, he was creating pathways for young voices to emerge. Through teaching, George discovered his purpose had evolved. Each lesson told its own story, intertwining with the experiences of his students. He embraced the role of giving back, inspired to uplift those he met. One sunny afternoon, while practicing the guitar on the porch, he reflected on his journey. The encounters he'd made, the connections with audiences, the bond with Celia, and the dreams of his students created a sense of wholeness he'd never known. Together, George and Celia began to develop a program that targeted youth, teaching them the art of songwriting and music as a means of expression. They planned workshops that traveled through Texas, aiming to reach those who felt unheard. As autumn leaves rustled outside, George looked at the canvas of his life. Each person, each story, a vital thread woven into the fabric of his existence. "We're not just musicians anymore," he said to Celia one evening. "We're part of something larger. We're inspiring change, one song at a time." Celia grinned, her face glowing with determination. "You're right. It's about uplifting others while finding our paths intertwined, like the songs we write." In the months that followed, Their partnership flourished, not just creatively but relationally. As they faced challenges together, their connection deepened, moving beyond the confines of their initial friendship. As winter approached, they held their first public workshop, filled with eager faces ready to uncover their own voices. The energy of the room buzzed with anticipation. George felt a surge of excitement as he took the stage, imagining the stories waiting to be shared. Welcome everyone. Today, we're here to explore the power of music and the stories that connect us all. Let's find your voice together. That afternoon transformed into a celebration of vulnerability, laughter, and learning. George stood before the crowd, not just a performer, but a guide, helping others to forge their own paths. Through their journey, George had crossed his own path from loneliness to connection, discovering that it was the journey of another that could light the way. Standing before these young dreamers, he felt a deep fulfillment wash over him. They weren't simply creating songs, they were building a community, a legacy that would echo beyond the walls of the venue. Eventually, George returned to the porch with Luna nestled at his feet, reflecting on the world around him. The connections he'd built, the lives he'd touched, the love that had blossomed, each moment reminded him that he was exactly where he was meant to be. With renewed purpose, George picked up his guitar and began to play, allowing the chords to unfold like stories waiting to be told. In the melodies that floated into the air, he understood now that it was not just about the music. It was about the multitude of hearts and paths that intertwined to form a legacy worth sharing. As winter settled over Texas, George's life took on a cozy rhythm. The wind whispered through the trees, and the nights grew colder, inviting warmth into homes and hearts. Celia became a steady presence at his side, her laughter filling the quiet spaces, punctuating their days with joy. They forged deeper into their project, maintaining a commitment to their workshop initiatives, which had started to flourish in the community. Word spread about their music workshops, attracting participants from nearby towns. The gatherings blossomed, and George felt a sense of pride within him. He had transformed from a man once lonely on stage into a mentor, guiding others to find their own voices, their own stories nestled within melodies. One snowy Saturday morning, as they prepared for their latest workshop, Celia looked at George with an excitement that lit up her eyes. "I can feel the energy today is going to be something special. Just look at how many people signed up." George chuckled, placing a hand on his chest. "I just hope we can give them something real. A moment that resonates," he said, a mix of apprehension and hope weaving through his tone. "You already are," Celia assured him. "By just being you, you've shown them it's okay to be vulnerable. We're all on our own journeys, and this is just a part of it." The venue was bustling with energy that morning, vibrant faces eager to dive into the process of creation. George watched as Luna played among the feet of attendees, radiating warmth like sunbeams. With a surge of confidence, George stepped forward, ready to guide them through the day. "Welcome everyone, today is about discovery. Your songs, your stories. Let's find what connects us," he proclaimed, embodying the facilitator he had become over the months. As they broke into smaller groups, George moved among them, encouraging participants to open up, to share their ideas and emotions. In one corner, a young man named Jake expressed his struggles to capture feelings of loss in a way that felt authentic. "Just speak your truth," George advised, leaning in, his eyes warm and understanding. "Every experience is valid. Sometimes the most powerful songs come from our deepest pains. Let it be messy." In another group, a young girl named Javier shared her dreams of moving to Nashville to pursue music, yet fear held her back. George knelt beside her with genuine encouragement. "Fear is natural, but it can also push you forward. Take that leap. You have a voice, a gift worth sharing." Every encounter reinforced a truth he had come to embrace: music's profound ability to bridge gaps, heal wounds, and facilitate understanding. The workshop culminated into a potluck-style performance, where participants showcased their creations, unveiling raw emotions. When Jake took the microphone, tentative yet resolute, everyone fell silent. He poured his heart out through a song he had crafted in just a few hours, revealing layers of pain and yearning. As he sang, tears glistened in their eyes, the room undeniably connected by the power of vulnerability. George felt a lump forming in his throat, a reflective echo of his own journey through sadness and discovery. As the night drew to a close, George glimpsed Celia standing back, her smile wide and proud. After everyone had shared, she joined him at the front of the room, their fingers brushing together, a silent acknowledgement of their journey shared. "You were extraordinary today," she whispered, her breath warm against the evening chill. "You've made a real impact. It feels bigger than I imagined. I'm grateful for this opportunity, just to be part of their stories," he replied, emotions thick in his voice. Days rolled into weeks, and as Christmas approached, George found himself reflecting on how far he'd come. He was not just a singer, he was part of an ever-expanding community woven together by music, empathy, and shared narratives. Inspired by the connections he'd witnessed, he decided to organize a special holiday concert, a culmination of the workshop participants' growth. He envisioned a showcase that would celebrate their voices and the unity they had formed through shared experiences. As he sat down to plan, Luna nestled beside him. He felt excitement thrumming through him. "Let's make this night a celebration," he said aloud, already picturing the colorful faces that would fill the crowd, smiles bursting forth from nerves, laughter echoing through the hall. On the evening of the concert, the venue glowed, and the warmth spilled outside, inviting everyone in. Family, friends, and newcomers alike gathered, eager to witness the creative fruits of the workshop. Participants wore expressions ranging from anxiousness to elation, ready to share pieces of their lives through song. As the lights dimmed, George took the stage, adrenaline swirling in his veins. What you're about to witness tonight is the power of community and storytelling. These voices, these songs, their truth weaves us together. Throughout the night, each participant stepped up, performing not just for applause, but to share their truths, their dreams, and their journeys. The room filled with raw emotions as laughter mixed with tears, capturing the essence of humanity. Together they transformed vulnerability into strength, celebrating their progression while intertwining their stories with the audience. When Jake performed his song again, his confidence radiated throughout the hall. As he strummed the last notes, the crowd erupted into applause, demonstrating the bond they had formed throughout this journey. After the final act, George stood on stage, heart full. "Thank you all for being brave enough to share your stories," he said. "Tonight, we've shown that music is a mirror reflecting our shared experiences. You've made this more meaningful than I could have ever dreamed." As the night concluded, George and Celia shared a heartfelt embrace, feeling the weight of everything they had built together. "Tonight was beautiful," she said softly. "You helped these people find their voices. You've created a legacy." With renewed purpose, George picked up his guitar later that evening, pouring out his heart into the melody that flowed freely through him. The realization dawned on him. He had redefined not just his career, but his life. He was a musician, a mentor, a connection maker, part of a greater story that continued to unfold with each strum, each chord, and each interaction shared. He stared into the future, and for the first time he truly felt at peace with the journey ahead, a pathway illuminated by shared stories, unwavering love, and unyielding support. In the days following the successful concert, George awoke to a Texas sunrise that painted the sky in brilliant hues. He sensed a shift within himself, a renewed sense of purpose ignited by the connections forged through music. The community's enthusiasm for storytelling had transformed, forming ripples of impact that George never anticipated. With Celia by his side, they committed to their vision, organizing follow-up workshops that welcomed newcomers eager to share their stories. The local radio station caught wind of their efforts and invited George for an interview. "This journey is about more than just music," he explained. "It's about giving people the courage to share their truths." His words resonated deeply, and soon he found himself in classrooms and community centers, inspiring youth to express themselves through song. Each invitation gave weight to the belief that everyone had a story worth sharing. One crisp afternoon, Celia approached him with an idea that sparked excitement within her. "What if we turned this initiative into a non-profit? We could help even more young artists find their voices and create opportunities." George smiled, imagining the impact they could make. "That's brilliant. We can give them resources and mentorship." They began the process of establishing Voices in Harmony, an organization dedicated to nurturing creativity. With community support, they built a foundation where aspiring artists could thrive, connecting stories and songs to shared experiences. During the launch event, George stood in front of a packed room, an array of eager faces looking back at him. Tonight we celebrate the power of voice. Each one of you matters, and together we can create something beautiful. The energy in the room was electric, filled with anticipation. Participants stepped forward, sharing their aspirations for the future, inspired by the possibilities ahead. Among them was a teenager named Sarah, who felt burdened by expectations. During a workshop, she hesitated at the microphone, expressing her fears. George knelt beside her. "It's okay, Sarah. Your voice matters. Share your truth and let the music guide you." Months passed, and finally it was Sarah's turn to perform at an open mic night, supported by Voices in Harmony. Standing under the warm glow of stage lights, she found her footing and sang with newfound confidence. The audience hung on every note, touched by her vulnerability and strength. Tears welled in George's eyes as he recognized the impact their work had made. As the organization flourished, each encounter reaffirmed George's purpose. He realized he was not just cultivating talent, he was fostering a family bound by shared stories. Workshops turned into a community, each person contributing their unique experiences. Years flew by. George found himself hosting the annual Voices in Harmony concert, showcasing the talent nurtured through their efforts. Standing backstage, he glanced out at a sea of familiar faces, each one a testament to their shared journey. "This is more than just a concert," he began as he stepped onto the stage. "It's a celebration of our community, our stories, and the power of music to bring us together." As the performers shared their pieces, laughter mingled with tears in the audience. George's heart swelled with pride, knowing that they had created a platform where connections blossomed and voices were finally heard. When the night ended, he stood backstage, reflecting. The warmth of the evening enveloped him, and for the first time he fully embraced his legacy. George had become a bridge, a conduit for voices that once felt small, now woven into a vibrant tapestry of shared experience. Picking up his guitar, he felt the strings under his fingers, each note echoing the stories that had unfolded. He had become more than a musician, he was a catalyst for change, and in that realization, he found peace. The path ahead sparkled with promise, illuminated by the power of shared stories, compassion and love, a legacy that would grow and resonate for generations to come.